Hey guys, welcome back to today's episode. So, I did take a much needed pause from the podcast, and this is your sign that if you were or are feeling a little bit under the weather, you are feeling like you need to just withdraw, you need to just take a break from work, take a break from life. Definitely do it, because the clarity that I have found and that I find every single time I honor my feelings and my body's way of being and just give myself what I need, which is time out, without guilt, without shame. The clarity that drops in is next level. And without me giving myself that time, all of this that I'm going to share with you in this episode would not have been visible. My mind would not have been able to piece it all together. And when I tell you, I have been like a mad scientist. Like, honestly, I sat down, I got some lining paper, I sat down, taped it to the floor, did a massive spider chart of the history and epigenetics, inherited beliefs, like how that plays into clear the conditioning and how it impacts our life right now and how it blocks us from the level of success and money and health and love and all of the things, and then intertwined that into all of my offerings. Honestly, none of that would have been able to happen without me giving myself the opportunity to pause. So if you are feeling burnt out, if you are feeling like you always are just thinking, I just need a break, I just need a break, I just need a break, then this is your sign. Take the break. You will be a better person for it. You're not failing. You are not withdrawing and starting again. You are literally just in your slingshot moment, waiting to gather all the information, all the wisdom, integrate it before you can be propelled forward. So in today's episode, we are going to be unpacking why it feels like we constantly are stuck on an emotional roller coaster. 1 minute we're up, the next minute we're down, and sometimes it's like you just can't keep up. A small win will lift us to the clouds. We'll be like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And then it could be like an Instagram comment, a cancellation. If you're self-employed, it could be a tech glitch. It could be an unexpected message or a bill. And then it literally sends you spiraling. And we're just constantly on this up and down emotional roller coaster. And it gets so draining. And you're just like, why can't life be just consistent? Why does it have to be so up and down? So we're going to unpack all of that. And today you're going to learn how to spot the unconscious beliefs pulling the strings, to understand how the universal law of balance affects your highs and lows. You're going to understand how to recode your emotional response in real time using tools inside the app, how to use neutrality as a power position, and also we're going to take a deep dive into the emotional suppression that's been inherited from generational trauma that keeps us stuck in this up and down pattern that, let's face it, we are all so done with. And from this point on, you no longer need to be on that roller coaster. So let's start with a metaphor. And I know I've used this one before, but bear with, because I'm not repeating the whole concept, but it is all relevant to the flow of this episode. So imagine that you're driving in a car with a glass ceiling, and every time you accelerate towards your dreams, whether that be a business win, a new connection, a new romantic partner, or just your relationship feeling incredible, or a moment of joy, whatever it is, you know those highs that you've experienced. And then it's like, bang, you literally hit that ceiling. And that ceiling is what is called the upper limit. And this is the subconscious belief that you're only allowed so much success, love, joy, and money. So go beyond that limit and our system will sabotage, regulate, or attract chaos to bring you back to the safe zone. But where did this even come from? Why are we literally stuck with this upper limit? So There's a few different contributing factors. So there's the childhood conditioning, there's the unspoken family rules that we subliminally absorbed energetically, and there's generational trauma, and we're going to unpack that generational trauma so you can understand exactly how it's at play, where it came from, and it just makes so much sense when you look around and you see the people around you, like your parents, your friends, siblings, like all of their behavior. You now understand why they do the things that they do and why you get so triggered and why you can't regulate yourself. So when you hit a high, our mind basically goes, this is unfamiliar, let's bring it back down. And then when you're low, the universe is always trying to balance things out with the universal law of balance. And then that's going to throw you a win, which leads to the constant up and down cycle of emotions. So what is the universal law of balance? So this is literally a natural law that says everything must return to equilibrium. So if you swing too far into excitement or despair, the opposite is pulled into your experience to rebalance you, not as a punishment, but as a law of nature. So what is the solution? The solution is, and I have not seen this anywhere, but it makes so much sense. And it's something that has, like I said, I've had time to pause and to understand everything that I've been working on, understand what my clients have been going through, what I've been going through, and just how we stop being so reactive and how we start being the conscious creator of our life rather than our external factors dictating our moods. And the solution is emotional neutrality. So this doesn't mean being numb or robotic. It means responding with awareness. So not making meaning of every high and low. So there's a reference by Epictetus, which is, a man is not hurt by what happens, but his opinion of what happens. And that is Stoic wisdom. So it's also like the saying, nothing is either good or bad, it just is. So when we stop labeling life events as good or as bad, and instead we ask, what is my lesson here? What is this emotion that's present? And what is it protecting me from? What would neutrality feel like in this moment? And when we ask these three questions, we start to reclaim our power. We stop reacting to our external situations, and therefore we become more grounded, more consistent, and therefore life starts to be more grounded, more consistent, making it feel so much easier and making you feel in control, which is what we all want. So why is feeling so hard? Like, why do we all struggle to really sit with our emotions? Why, if you're having a bad day or you might say something negative to a friend or a colleague, why do they just say, do you know what, just think positive, it's going to be all right? Just think positive. Why is that the only advice that we can give somebody in a time of need? Because we have been taught not to feel our emotions because nobody knows how to handle them. So it's easier to throw out that blanket statement and say, think positive, than to actually hold space. But as we know, you can't heal what you don't feel. But for many, especially high achievers, high functioning adults, feeling your feelings can feel like weakness, can feel like indulgence at times, or even danger, because we were taught to be strong. We had no safe adult model for emotional regulation, and we're going to get into why. And we inherited shut down patterns through epigenetics from our lineage. And that's why the Symbiotic Success app includes clear the conditioning audios. So in the moment that you're feeling this intense emotion and you want to react, instead what you would do is pause, just name what you're feeling. So frustration, anger, sadness, whatever it is. Then you would plug into the app, select the matching emotional imprint, and let the audio walk your body and mind back to neutrality by clearing the root cause memory and the belief that's at play that makes your nervous system feel so dysregulated, like it's under threat, which is why you want to react, is a protective mechanism. So doing that process is like a nervous system detox. So we don't just intellectualize what we feel. We actually feel it. We release it and we recode it. And that's when you get lasting change. So let's go deeper into the generational weight of emotions. So we're not just dealing with our patterns. We're carrying the unprocessed emotional codes of, and before you clock out, because I know you're very logical, you may be interested in spirituality, but you might not be fully grasping, or you, like, your current mindset might just want to log off as soon as you hear anything too spiritual. But I want you to just hold space for this. So there was a time where women, especially women, if they spoke out about their intuition, or like just a knowing that they had about something happening, or just being able to connect to people, or just using intuition basically, there would be shame created around this expression because they would be deemed as a witch. And we all know what happened in that era to witches or perceived witches. It's all taboo, but that is what happened. And then that created shame around expression. So women started to shut down and not use their intuitive gifts. So then imagine if, say, like, you had a sister back in that era, and your sister was punished for speaking her truth, and you had the same hunch, you had the same intuition, the same gift, the same skill. We all do. We just suppress it. You are then not going to want to use your intuition, and then if your kids possess that intuition, you're going to tell them to just be quiet, to not speak of it, not speak of anything that's spiritual or that's considered taboo or like out of the norm. So then that created a lot of suppression around our voice, around speaking our truth. And then compounded onto that, then we have the war era. So this was obviously a horrific time of survival where the men went out to war. Then the women had to then step forward and take on more masculine roles to ensure that society could be sustained. Then parents were out of the home, dealing with grief, dealing with overwhelm and stress. And then obviously on top of that, rations, feeling like there's not enough, things are running out, they're in complete fear. So then that shut down emotions and the ability to express them, because the only way that people felt they could cope would be to not talk about it, to brush it under the carpet. And then the children of the parents that were affected in the war then had to become hyper independent to sustain the home. So we've got loads of people feeling so intense, feeling like the grief, the fear, feeling the lack, but nobody's talking about it. And then we've got the industrial era, where that was basically productivity over pleasure, and men and women were created as separate. So there was male roles, there were female roles, and the woman had to do a certain thing, and the men would obviously act their way. And these imprints created a culture of emotional repression and certain ways of behaving and being. And with epigenetics, it's actually been proven that we can carry up to 12 generations of DNA within us. And especially if our ancestors were affected by trauma, like significant trauma. So let's say like the war era. I know my granddad actually fought in the war. So then we can be affected by 2 to 3 generations, like really impacted. So obviously that's right for us right now. So that's why it's difficult for us, because we are breaking the cycles of all of these inherited beliefs and inherited ways of being, and these imprints created this emotional repression. And now it's come to a time where we're still behaving like each of the eras. So we don't talk about our emotions. We are in survival still. We don't know why, but there's this sense of urgency, the sense of like we can't sit down, we can't relax, we have to be always on the go. Or if we're not on the go, then we feel guilty. There's this massive problem that mums and relationships as a result of it are now equal, but yet the mum has to be the mum and earn the same amount of money as the dad, but the dad gets to chill when he gets back from work, whilst the mum has to maintain the house, maintain the family, go out to work. So is it any wonder that we find it hard to be vulnerable in business or even in our career? Is it any wonder that we get uncomfortable with too much happiness because there's so much shame and guilt around it? Is it any wonder that we fear being too much for speaking our truth? But here is the truth. We can break the chain. We can break the chain. We get to break all of this pattern, all of the patterns, all of the imprints, all of the ways of being, because if we don't break it, we're going to create even more problems for our children, because they're going to have to feel it. It's going to come to a point where someone's got to feel it, somebody's got to heal it, somebody's got to clear it. And I don't know about you, but as uncomfortable it is, I would rather it be me than my children any day. Even in the hardest days, even when I'm feeling all the feels for everyone before me, I would rather be the one to feel it. Even when life feels like it's crumbling on the outside and you realize the only thing that's crumbling is the mindset that's got you to where you are now, and it needed to crumble so that you can be free. Every time you feel an emotion fully, you let it move through you safely. You choose neutrality instead of reaction. You plug in and recode your pattern. You rewrite the script for future generations. Because if we don't, the cycle continues. And that's how this work becomes legacy. And I've already seen it at play. Obviously, everything that I've shared, I've already experienced. But recently, me and my partner kept it was like the same, like the same tit for tat argument. And it was always me starting it. And when I realized this in the pause, it made total sense. And honestly, we've completely just got rid of that whole cycle that we kept going into, which was the tit for tat. And I'm going to give you some context now. So obviously, as a woman with children, working on my career, my business that I'm so passionate about, because it's not just about me, it's about all those that came before me and everyone that comes after, and all of us right now living on this earth, because we're all affected by it. So it's a massive passion. Obviously, I am obsessed with my family. They are first and foremost. But if you're a mom, you know that it's overwhelming. Having a career, running the house, taking care of yourself, being a great partner, is a lot. So when my partner would come home from work and sit on the sofa and not see the mess around him. Not like he is really good, don't get me wrong, he does help, but he's a man, so like you have to, like, you know, say, can you do this, can you do that? And on top of an overwhelmed day, you don't want to be there parenting your partner, do you? Like, it's just not, you've just not got the mental capacity for it. And even if you have, you just don't want to. So I kept thinking, oh gosh, why is he so lazy? Why is this? Why is that? Then you feel like you biting your tongue until you can't, and then you're like, right, this is not fair. I can't do this anymore. Why am I doing everything rah rah rah? And then I started to pause and think, why is this showing up for me right now? What is this teaching me? How is it working for me? And why is it a repeating pattern? What is this? What am I not seeing? And then I realized the reason that it kept showing up for me is because it's so aligned with my work. It's the inherited beliefs that a man goes out to work, he comes home and he relaxes, he gets catered for by his wife, he enjoys his family, he goes out to work, he comes back, he does it again. The expectation of the wife's role from the man's perspective is to, you know, do the household things, raise the family. But those beliefs haven't recalibrated to the modern era that we're in now, where the woman is supposed to have a career, wants all the independence, wants to have equal rights, but then also has the layered inherited beliefs of all of the ancestors as well. So we're like freaking compounded little dynamites just waiting to combust, basically, if we don't realize the patterns and clear the conditioning. And when I realized that in that moment, I was like, oh my God, he's not lazy. He is just being how he's been conditioned to be. And it's not even his way of being. Like, when I say, can you do this, can you do that, he'll do it. And he'll say, like, anything that you want me to do, I do. And I'm like, yes, but it's not, I don't want to have to tell you to do it. And then I realized that's his conscious self wanting to help, but his unconscious doesn't know how to help because it's been ingrained within him that he's a man to do a certain man's role, go to work, come home, sit down, you know, chill. So if you look at your partner relaxing and it grates on you and you're like, oh my God, why is he just doing that? Why am I running around with steam coming out my ears? Then that is why. I want you to just pause in that moment and think, you know what? It's not that we're not compatible. It's not that he's lazy. It's not that he doesn't want to help me. It's that society has not yet recalibrated to a new way of being. And that's why doing this work is so, so important. So I've also got such a cough. I need to keep pausing the podcast. I didn't have the cough before this. If you are spiritual, which I know if you listen to this, you're waking up to the fact that you are. When we get like a cough out of the blue, it's usually like a blockage in the throat chakra. And I feel like with me speaking out about all of this, it's basically that. It's like clearing it all. I know that's way out there, but that's what I believe. So if you can hear like different tones in my voice, then that's basically why. So how powerful is that? How much does that change your perspective on life? And how much more compassion do you not only have for your partner, but you have for yourself, you have for your mom, your dad, your grandma, your granddad, like anyone that you know who you've said like, oh, they're just cold, or they're just this way, or like they're such a perfectionist, or they're worried about what they eat all the time, or they hoard things, or like, why can't they just stop doing that? They can't stop because it's an unconscious behavior that was passed down to them through societal conditions. No one wants to be the worst version of themselves. No one wants to be annoying. No one wants to be the instigator of an argument. All we all want is happiness, peace, love, freedom, success. That's all we want. And when you do this work, that's what we get. So let's go back to that. So let's tie this back to what we really want. We want love, we want peace, we want money, we want freedom. So we manifest what we're a vibrational match for. So if our nervous system doesn't feel safe having more because it's overwhelmed, it's dysregulated, it's cut off because it can't cope with feeling all of these emotions. So then we go into numbing, or we go into addictions, we go into vaping, we go into smoking, drinking, all of the things, overeating, snacking more, not doing the things that we say we want to do, procrastinating, self-sabotage. These are all signs that your nervous system doesn't feel safe. It's overwhelmed. So if it doesn't feel safe having more, it will unconsciously reject it or block it. And that's why we stay on the roller coaster. So we recode safety, we align our emotions, we hold neutrality, and then that's when life bends to us. Because we're no longer reacting to the outer world, we're creating it from within. That is how you start to change your life. That is how you start walking around like a piece of dynamite that's going to blow any minute. And you realize that you have the power to consciously create not only your life, but to impact everyone around you. So if today's episode lit a fire in you like it has done me, I would definitely recommend downloading the Symbiotic Success app. Explore the Clear the Conditioning audios. Start using them when your emotions spike or you feel like you're numbing out, you're detaching from your experience and you're procrastinating, you may be self-sabotaging. And then begin seeing yourself as the creator, not the reactor. That is how you are going to create the life of your dreams. And if you're ready for deep one-to-one identity, recoding, and mentorship, then check out my Aligned and Uncompromised Ambition Mentorship. It's a 12-week mentorship where we work one-on-one to uncover your inherited beliefs, to recode them, to align your thoughts, actions, behaviors with that of your human design. And we map out your freedom-based career. Or if you want to just sample this work, I would definitely recommend booking a personalized Recode session with me. It's for 90 minutes because the app is incredible, but it is self-paced. So the audios are great. They are so transformational. But if there's a lot of work that you want to do, you're not used to feeling your emotions, you don't understand your patterns, you don't know what they're trying to show you, then I definitely recommend booking a personalized Recode session. And you can do that through the links below. If you've got any questions, reach out to me on Instagram. So until next time, remember, being neutral is not boring. It's actually so powerful. And our next level starts with our nervous system. I'll see you in the next episode.